Eamon Khan here for Seconds Out in Manchester with Joe Gallagher, or should I refer to you as recent inductee to the British Boxing Hall of Fame, Joe Gallagher. Joe, pleasure to be speaking to you in 2024. A great achievement to be awarded or recognised, I should say. How was it feeling to get that recognition towards the end of last year?
It's huge, and I was really proud to be inducted into the British Boxing Hall of Fame, and my family are, and it's nice to be acknowledged by your fellow peers. So it's a nice accolade to have received. So that's it really. Happy New Year, by the way. Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah. Appreciate it, and Happy New Year to you too. We'll go to the new year in a moment. Just reflections on your last year building up to this year now. How do you feel the year went and some of the challenges you're facing heading into 2024?
2023 was a very good year for us. Tasha Jonas become a two-weight world champion. We did a lot of fighters. Jose Burton was in a good fight with Zorro, which was a bit of a barnstormer. He came unstuck, but like I say, he was ahead at the time. It was a good fight, and that's it. As far as the rest of the stable, I think it was a very good year. It was building blocks, as I call it, building blocks. We had Mikaela have 3 fights in 7 weeks. Callum Thompson 4. He moved to 7 or 8 or 0. Josh Holmes is now 13-0. Billy Dennis is 9-0. Jack Massey joined the gym. Paul Butler had 2 fights last year, 2 wins. Callum Johnson came back at cruiserweight. Macaulay McGowan had some really good fights last year. Very unlucky against Tyler Denner. Should have got the win in Paris when he fought at the beginning of the year against the Olympic kid. It was a very good year. I'm just trying to think who else. Sean Yaxley won 2 titles, won the IBO, bit of a trinket belt, and the Celtic title. So it was a good building block season last year, where we're ready to push on again this year. And obviously we're starting the year with Natasha in a big fight against Mikaela. But I thought it was a very good year last year. I think somewhere like 26 wins and 2 losses, something like that. But it was a very good year last year for the gymnasium, where it was a case of just building the next generation of kids coming through.
Speaking of building the next generation of kids coming through, you're doing that in Saudi as well too. Talk about the opportunity and what the task is at hand.
Yeah, no, Saudi's really good. We're over there at the Mike Tyson Boxing Club, and it's very good over there. Like you said, the applicants for the boxing gym, we had over 1,000 applicants, people from all over. And like you say, we're going through that process now of picking the 20-30 fighters that will eventually box for them, and they'll start their journey, amateur and pro size over there. But it's very good over there. Really enjoy it over there, and you're seeing what they're doing with the big shows over on the pro side of it as well. It's great. It's really good, and it's really pleased and honoured to be part of such an exciting project that's got to happen over the next 4 or 5 years.
Exciting fights in the line or in the offing early this year, starting with Natasha Jonas taking on Mikaela. Natasha continues her ascent, getting the opportunities through boxer. Mikaela presents herself as a difficult proposition. What's your scout report on Maya heading into the fight?
Yeah, Mikaela, listen, she's a good fighter, an Olympian. Mikaela and Natasha know each other from the amateur days. She's been on the circuit a while. Mikaela's good. She's going to come. I do feel she'll switch styles in the fight. She'll try and box a bit of southpaw. It's got to be a good fight. There's been talk about the fight being 12 threes. That's something that we were well open for. We had discussions, but people don't want to pay 12 threes money. They want the same fight for 10 twos. So you're not got to go and work for 20 minutes and then for 36 minutes and get paid the same money as you would for 20 minutes work. So that's a shame, really, because I thought it would have been a really good fight. Both fighters' style, I think, would have suited the 3-minute rounds. But like I say, it's 10 twos, and it's going to be a tough fight for Natasha. Mikaela. She's got height, she's got reach, she's come through the divisions, and like I say, she's coming with a point to prove to try and win that world title. For Natasha, she had 1 fight last year. Inactivity, it's like half killed her a little bit. I don't think she would mind me saying, but she's 39 now, and the fire in her belly and her desire is unbelievable. She's in here training and dedication. Nothing's wavered since from the first world title that she's won to now. regardless of all the accolades and the belts that she's won, her desire, her determination, and her fire is still as burning, as strong as ever.
Do you feel that before the end of a career she'll fight a 3 minutes round fight?
I think she's open to it. She's always wanting open to it. I think all the girls were most probably open to it. But I seen a comment the other day. I think what it is sometimes I think promoters, they want main event, they want the huge main event fights, but they don't want to pay main event money. And it's very similar to the situation with women's tennis, women's 3 sets, and men's is 5 sets, and the money. There's a difference there, and I think if the women go to 5 sets, I think the women would be on the men's money, and I think it's a similar type of thing with the boxing as well. So, yeah, you can't, in any form of life, or if you go and park a car, you've got to pay what it's worth, and you can't be paying people 10-2s money for 12-3s.
In amongst the fights that Tasha's had previously on a record, where do you rank Maya as an opponent?
Right up there, like I say, Natasha's been in with Katie Taylor. Listen, what a fantastic year Katie Taylor's had. She's right up there. I still say Katie Taylor's the best that Tasha's fought, amateur and professional wise. There's still an appetite on Natasha's side from us still to have another fight with Katie Taylor. The time when the fought as a pro was behind closed doors at the MEN Arena, and it'd be good for the two of them to dance again. Maybe that could be the fight, that'd be 12-3s, but yeah, I think Natasha's open for it, but like I say today, that everyone's got to pay the money.
What's in the offing for her should she get the victory?
Against Mikaela, I don't know. We'll have to sit down and look at it. Obviously, there's Jessica McCaskill. That's a fight that we would really want for a unified, undisputed. I think that would be or unified. I think Jessica McCaskill would be the fight then to be a unified 2-weight world champion as well.
Moving on to a couple of the charges. Jack's going to be out on the bill as well too. What about any of the other fighters in the gym? What's the latest with them?
Yeah, Jack Massey's on the bill as well. His first fight for me. Good to get him out. He's been out of the ring. I think it'd be nearly a year the time he steps in the ring. So it'd be good to get out there. Back down at cruiserweight. Cruiserweight division is very hot in the UK at the moment. And it'd be good to get Jack Massey out with the win and get him in amongst the mix in the big fights later on in the year. Mikey talented 18-year-old kid having his first fight in Liverpool. This will be his 4th professional fight. In the space of like 15 weeks, something like that. So he's managed by Natasha. He's on the bill. Talented flyweight. He's on it, so that's good. And then for the rest of the year, like you say, coming up now, we've got Callum Johnson's back, Paul Butler's back in training, Callum Thompson, Clark Smith will be back, Billy Dennis, Josh Holmes, Sean Yaxley, Jake Dodd. Trying to think who I may have missed out, but there's lots of good fighters ready to push on and get themselves amongst the title mix at domestic level this year.
Joe, just whilst I fiddle with my phone just to get out a photo to show you, just wanted to talk about one of the upcoming fights that being this weekend, and I found the photo now. And it's a little bit of a flashback for you, I believe it will be. It's Callum Smith sparring with Carl Froch back in the day, and I see you in the corner observing there. Callum Smith takes on Artur Beterbiev this weekend, who maybe in some ways some similarities with Carl back in the day in the way that he fights, at least in the come forward sort of style that Carl exhibits. But tough fight that Beterbiev, for Callum Smith, to dethrone Artur Beterbiev. But do you feel that Callum is the one that can do it, given some of the recent performances from Artur?
Yeah, I think it's all about timing in boxing. This Artur Beterbiev is a phenomenal fighter. I think his little inactivity, not being as busy as late and having that little bit of time out has allowed him go back home, enjoy a bit of family life, train. And most have done him the world of good. Most have healed up a lot of niggles and stuff like that. Callum's gone into it. You wonder whether the inactivity with Callum Smith can be key. I think, when was the last time he fought? Over 12 months ago anyway. He's had, 2 fights in the last couple of years? So there's an activity thing where Beterbiev has been active and in big fights, and he dug in to come with Anthony Yard, which was a huge fight, a tough, hard fight. He dug in and he got the win. Beterbiev listen, you can't rule him out. He's a champion. I think he's stopped everyone that he's fought. We came close with Callum Johnson. We had him down, and I think, as Callum would say, he was like thinking, did that really happen? Walking around the ring, following him instead of jumping on him. I think the thing you've got to go with Callum Smith. Callum Smith is dangerous early on, very dangerous early on. Fires the left hook well. And I think Beterbiev, he likes to throw the overhand right. That's his best shot. And I think there could be a situation where, like George Groves did, he threw the overhand right, and Callum Smith may catch it and return with it. And if he does and he lands it, then I think we might see Beterbiev on Queer Street. And Callum Smith is a good finisher. Once he has you hurt, he'll finish you. But the same can be said for Beterbiev as well. But age, youth, experience. He's having to go to Canada. That's what Beterbiev's training. He's got it all to do, Callum Smith, but he has got the power to do it and land the shots. I do feel it will be a street fight. I don't think it'll be boxing. I think lessons were learned. I feel he has to go in there and get involved in a shootout with Beterbiev and let the shots go early and don't be too hesitant to let his shots go. I think if he does that, I think he could come out the winner.
Yeah, power's going to be a big spot for Callum, and a lot of people are kind of saying that he has that punch power. You being on the pads with him, having trained with him, can you tell me where his punch power stands and amongst the divisions that he's been in, especially now at the new weight? Does he carry that power that can really hurt Beterbiev?
Yeah, of course he can. I think there's not so much about the power as well. Everyone goes his left hook, but his right hand, he can hit well with the right hand. He chops a good right hand down. But I think it's just the speed and the timing of the way that he counters, as you've seen in the fights against Rocky Fielding and other fights. It's just that catch left hook, even under pressure. And we've seen Callum Johnson drop Beterbiev with the left hook. But he understands in this fight he's got to be really, really tight because Beterbiev, if he lands, he'll much put Callum to sleep as well, as much in the same way as the other way. So this is what makes it an exciting fight. His power, Callum, he's got good power left and right, but it's his speed and his timing with it that adds to the power with it as well. But he's got the tools to get it done, and I'm sure he will get comfort in knowing, like he's saying, Callum Johnson had him hurt with his left hook, and he most feels if Callum can do it, I can do it. So he'll have that in the back of his head as well. But he's also got to understand Beterbiev can be in a crisis situation, does get up and can come back and pull off the win. So he's got to be careful as well that when he has him hurt, not that he doesn't empty the tank too soon and find himself then like in trouble.
Break it down a little bit more for me. You just mentioned there that a street fight might be how the fight plays out. You know better than I do, but would a street fight not favour Beterbiev than it would Callum?
No, I think so. When Callum Johnson fought him, Callum Johnson said to him and was up close, said, just be careful on the way in. And Callum says, I don't feel he's as strong as what I thought he was. I feel like I can bully him a little bit. And sometimes in fights you have to bully the bully. But I think when we went to fight Canelo, I was saying at the time, we needed to be a bit like a Jarrell McClellan when we fought Julian Jackson. We had to be on the front foot push. Obviously, the time frame and we had for that fight, we never managed to get that off. But in this fight, that's what he's got to be a little bit. He's got the height, he's got the reach, he can punch. It's not that he's a tall, long-arm fighter where he can't fight on the inside. He can fight on the inside, hits to the body well. And I think he's just got that speed of quickness in his hands that will upset Beterbiev. And it's whether Beterbiev would be expecting that. I think the left hook, but I do feel if Callum Smith wins, it'll be the right hand that does it. It must be a slip right hand or a slip right uppercut.
Can you take parts of the Canelo fight in the sense of maybe not the way the fight went, but the occasion, the big night, handling that the first time round into this one with Beterbiev, so that's not an issue, handling those big fights as big nights?
No, Callum's never really had them big nights, even whether it was Groves or the Rocky Fielding or for the European. Callum's always had a cool head, as I used to say. He had ice in his veins. He was always a cool customer, Callum. He don't let it faze him. And like you say, the thing with the Canelo and the crowd and all that's nothing. He'll be over there. My only concern is just the inactivity. But at the same time, by not being active, it gives him a freshness and an appetite to go in there and show everyone it's an opportunity that become a two-weight world champion.
Does either fighter, whoever it is, whoever gets the victory beat Bivol?
Bivol's very, very good. Very, very good. I don't think no one can beat Bivol at the moment. I think he's good. He can be hurt. Joe Smith hurt him once in a contest, but I just think it's his feet movement at the moment. I think that's what you have to struggle. You're seeing that against Lyndon Arthur. I think Lyndon landed a decent body shot at one point, but it's just getting Bivol to stand still. His feet and his rhythm is very good. It'd be interesting because if it's Beterbiev, you've got Beterbiev who can hit. As he comes in, he's got to throw shots at the same time. It's who's as quick as him to match him for punching power, for punching speed and countering, or being able to do a first and a third phase of attack. And Callum Smith, he'd have to box and be on his toes and sharp and look to counter. Whether he's quick enough to do it, we all remain to see. But it's all ifs and buts at the maybes at the moment.
Joe, moving on, I want to pick your thoughts on a big fight that got announced recently, that being Francis Ngannou getting another big opportunity, this time against Anthony Joshua, off the back of the way the fight went against Tyson Fury. Although he didn't get the win against Tyson, Francis lands himself the opportunity against Anthony Joshua off the back of the fight with Otto Wallin. Just starting with that performance against Otto Wallin, who many billed as a tricky fight for Joshua. It wasn't tricky in the ring when it all unfolded. How do you feel Anthony Joshua has set up a new base with Ben Davison heading into this Ngannou camp, who has proved tricky for the WBC champion Fury?
Yeah, listen, I think it surprised us all with Ben Davison, but I still don't think, I've not heard or seen or read that it has left Derek James yet. I think they said it was just for that fight. It'll be interesting to see now moving forward whether he goes back to Derek, or it's Derek and Ben, or just Ben. So that'll be interesting to see what happens now over the next few weeks. I think also Ben Davison, like you say, got Anthony Joshua back boxing again. Also at the same time, Wallin, the familiar opponents. AJ's fought him as an amateur, I believe, and then as sparring partners. So don't necessarily felt there was a fear factor there for AJ. So AJ walked in there with a confidence. I think with Ngannou, which is an interesting situation from when the fight with Fury and Ngannou was first announced and what it was, and the board shouldn't license this and shouldn't license that. Now he has the opportunity now to fight Anthony Joshua. Ngannou can't believe his luck, really. Some will say Tyson Fury didn't train for the Ngannou fight. He thought it was going to be what it was, whether it be a WWE type of thing or whatever. That's it, and nearly came and stuck with it. Everyone has seen how Ngannou performed that night. Had the knockdown, some people thought he won. But now he goes in against Anthony Joshua, and I think Ngannou most probably thinks, well, all I have to do is just land once, like against Tyson Fury, against Anthony Joshua, and I'm sure we could pull this off. Anthony Joshua, obviously, and his team, they'll be wanting to go in there and do a better job than what Tyson Fury did. It's a shame, really, because it'd be interesting to watch the fight, but I really thought Chang and Anthony Joshua was the fight that was got to be made. I thought after him fighting Wallin, being a southpaw, was preparing him for the Chang fight. I thought Chang AJ would have been a great fight, a huge fight, and would have been a worthy winner of Fury and Usyk. But to see where they're going to go now with the winner of Joshua and Ngannou will be interesting to see. But I think Ngannou will be usually pumped. They'll sit down, they'll study things well, and they'll go into that fight. They'll mostly look at Joshua's few fights, and mostly have a mentality of them. We only have to hit him once, because if we hit him once, he's done. I think Tyson Fury gets hit, but he gets up. I think when Anthony Joshua gets hit, he stays hit. Does that make sense? And I'm not disrespecting. It's just when you look at it from Ngannou's point of view, is if Ngannou lands, can AJ ride the storm and come up? And that'll be interesting. If he gets hit, he's got to get into position to land at the same time. It's interesting, but I've seen people saying it's a cash grab. It is what it is, and 1 minute one people are slagging it, yet the same people now are involved in it. But it's interesting, and it is an interesting fight, and more so for Francis Ngannou than Anthony Joshua. And Francis Ngannou, in his second professional fight, could beat a two-time world heavyweight champion.
Sorry.
I say former, sorry.
My apologies for pulling the mic away from you so soon. I wouldn't stand to say that would be a cash grab. I know that people are making the comment, but I will say that I was somewhat confused as to the direction of going with Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou, considering in the lead up to the fight, Anthony Joshua said, look, I'm not interested in other fights. I'm not even interested with Wilder, even though that's been a fight that's been looked at for a long, long time off the back. Obviously, Parker's victory doesn't seem to be something that's as favourable as it was beforehand. But with Joshua saying that he wanted belts as opposed to those big fights, I can't quite understand why the Ngannou fight's the one that's been made, as opposed to maybe Hrgovic or maybe even a Zhang. But it seems like maybe the build-up is towards setting up a Fury versus Joshua, which is a big fight that's been talked about for a long, long time, where a big fight with Wilder has now been lost because of that defeat there. Do you feel that that's the move that's been happening now to set up for Fury versus Joshua, if Fury can beat Usyk and Joshua can beat Ngannou, as opposed to losing other fights or looking towards a Hrgovic fight?
Yeah, like I said to you, I thought Chang was the one. If not, it would have been Hrgovic to win, fight for the world title and become a three-time world champion. Then they'd bring something to the table for the fight against Fury. Fury beats Usyk. Yeah, so that was a quick thing. You got to remember as well, Fury Usyk, that there'll be a rematch in that. However the fight goes, there'll be a rematch in that. So whether the winner of Fury and Joshua and Ngannou goes in, and then the rematches after that. But I feel there'll be a rematch with Fury and Usyk, depending on the fight. That would most probably go first before anything. So most probably after Joshua Ngannou, then we most probably might get Django, we might get Hrgovic then after that. So yeah, we'll see. But I think a Fury Usyk will be the next one, rematch after it. I'm assuming so, and that seems to be what's happened over the past. You see Joshua with his 2 fights with Usyk and that, but I thought Chang with his win over Joyce was a very good win, and he's a likeable character. I'd like to see him, and the British public are aware of him. It'd be good to have seen him in the mix, and he may still be.
I spoke to Thomas Hauser again in the wake of Joshua's victory over Otto Wallin, and Thomas said, look, the perspective is sort of changing on Josh after that win over Otto Wallin, but really Otto Wallin didn't really offer that much, and he was essentially a glorified punching bag, not to disrespect Otto Wallin's position there. But do you feel that this was a turn for AJ towards being back to his best, or can the opposition not really be something that can give us that conclusion off of the back of the way AJ dismantled Wallin?
Yeah, it's very hard to say AJ's back to his best after Wallin. I think Wallin retired at the end of the round, if I remember rightly. Yeah, after 6 rounds. So dismantling, he went in there, like I said, there was no fear factor. But then you've got to look at back. So, you just said there, when is the best of AJ? Well, tell me, what is AJ's best? What is it?
You could say, well, the way they performed against Klitschko was really good. Brazil was really good.
So Klitschko was, how old was he and how inactive was he? He'd already lost to Tyson Fury. Go on.
Who else did perform against? Dylan White, that was a long time ago. They sent towards essentially the rise of AJ. The people really kind of draw the conclusions with AJ. They draw the line at the Ruiz fight, don't they? And they say that everything kind of faltered beforehand. I suppose the way he fought Pulev was pretty good as well. There were good points of that with AJ. But I mean, I think from off of the back of Wallin, which was like I mentioned, dismantling, people are starting to feel like, you know, he's really back to his best. He's really starting to box again, to be that destructive force again.
So that's what I'm saying. So back to his best. It isn't necessarily back to his best. Obviously, he beat Joseph Parker. You look what Joseph Parker just done, and the result looks even better now. But I wouldn't say back to his best. What we all wanted to see AJ do was come back and do what he did as he was coming through. Like you said, the rise of AJ coming through, going in, being fearless, going in, not boxing with a handbrake on, letting his shots go, as you've seen against the Dylan White, as you mentioned, on the way through, against the Klitschko, just letting the hands go. And that's what we wanted. I feel since, as you said there, the Ruiz fight, all of a sudden it was safety first, all of a sudden with AJ, and it wasn't the swashbuckling AJ that we become accustomed to watching on the way through. And I think that's where the frustrations is. Now, a discussion about the best AJs for another day. What I would say is, after that performance, we're seeing AJ letting his hands go again and having confidence to let his hands go. Maybe a little bit easy because nothing was coming back too much. But this is what makes Ngannou fascinating fight in the sense that what we've seen with Tyson Fury and Ngannou was coming forward all the time, wanting to let the shots go and can punch hard, and be interesting to see if AJ's got to come out and let the hands go like he did just now with Wallin.
No, I appreciate the discussion there. And just to flip the perspective over to Ngannou as well, I don't want to lose sight of him, who's really taken his opportunity. Do you feel he has a future in boxing in terms of winning a title potentially?
He could do, like I say, if he beats Anthony Joshua, he's there at the table, isn't he? He'll be wanting the winner of Fury and Usyk. So we're here, and like you just said to me, do you think this is the path that they're plotting for AJ and Fury? Well, who's not to say they might not be plotting the chance of Ngannou v Fury rematch after him taking care of AJ? So it's interesting. Like you said, there was a lot of more people that could have been put in front of AJ, like a Herkovich for a third title or a Chang, but the powers that be and the people have chose to put Ngannou in there. So he's a dangerous fighter, and Ngannou now will have huge belief after his fight with Tyson Fury, and he'll go into training camp now for Anthony Joshua thinking, I've got a chance of winning this.
A couple of final things for me, Joe. A lot of people are very confused by Deontay Wilder and the way he fought Joe Parker. I know that Jack had a bit of a little poker on Twitter in terms of finding the right hand against Joe. But yeah, a lot of people are kind of confused as to where Deontay Wilder goes from now. I believe he might be returning on one of the Saudi cards, but losing to Joe Parker wasn't seen by many.
No, it wasn't. We was there in Saudi that week, and obviously Joe Parker was doing work in the gymnasium where we were there and looked good, looked on it, switched on. And then you look at Deontay Wilder's public workout over there in Saudi, and it wasn't just a public workout where people come in and throw a few shadow boxing shots and get out. He turned that into a proper gym session. He was the only fighter that night in a public workout that had the gum shield in his mouth, did proper pads, and he looked on fire on the pads. He was switching southpaw, he was orthodox, he was sharp. We're on the pads with Alex Scott. And I stood beside Derek Chisora and going, wow, he's back, he's on it. But when it went fight night, it just wasn't there, whether he left something behind. And in the 3 fights with Tyson Fury, they were hard fights, and it does take something out of you. And maybe it took something out of Tyson Fury in his performance in Ngannou. We don't know. We'll have to sit and wait and see. But they were hard, brutal fights. And Deontay Wilder maybe lost something there that he can never, ever really get again. Do you understand it? I wouldn't say he's damaged, but it's not there no more to an extent. Although he is dangerous still with the right hand, as people have always said. But it'll be interesting to see what he does. The heavyweight division is beginning to open up again. Opportunities are opening up. Fights are being made. And Deontay Wilder is a name. And we can't write him off really on the one performance. But let's see how he performs next time out. And then we'll have to make a judgment then after that, whether he is finished. But I do feel he deserves another opportunity and another shot against whoever.
What do you feel Joe Parker did so well to nullify that threat?
I think Joe Parker, he didn't rush in. He kept his composure. He made Deontay Wilder move. He didn't rush in. When Deontay wanted to set, Joe just little step back, little head movements, and just let Deontay move and move and move. And then all of a sudden, he got his opportunities and started landing shots over the top. And hurt him to a fact that Deontay Wilder was hurt once or twice. And like I said to you, emotionally, all the memories and the hurt in the fights with Fury came flooding back a little bit. And I just thought Joe Parker and Andy Lee just kept cool heads, didn't do nothing silly, kept things tight, never took their eyes off him, kept stepping across, kept stepping back, was aware of the right hand and took the right hand away from him. And then they had the opportunity when the Deontay found himself in corners to let the shots go and timed them over the top and brought them over the top as well, where Deontay's chin was over the top. Listen, Joe being in around Tyson Fury for them fights and camps and everything else, he would have seen weaknesses and been there ringside for them and was hugely confident in his own ability to get the result, and he got it.
The commentators made mention of it, that maybe Wilder's found contentment outside of the ring, and Deontay Wilder said, he's been to retreats, he's tried certain things that I think ayahuasca is the thing. I don't expect you to be an ayahuasca expert there, Joe, but when a fighter has found contentment outside the ring, have they dulled their own threat heading into a boxing fight where you've got to knock out your opponent? You've got to really want to do something. You've got to want to hurt your opponent. If you've not got that in you anymore, is he still the fighter that he was?
Yeah, no, it's very much the same, isn't it? Once fighters, it's hard to get out of bed running in the morning when you're sleeping in satin sheets or silk sheets. Do you know what I mean? It's that type of temperament, isn't it? You've gone through the hard things. Life's comfortable. There's money, houses. The children are doing well. They're in good schools, and it depends on the fighter in the belly what he wants. Do you know what I mean? His resume. He's been a heavyweight world champion, exciting heavyweight world champion. Knocked a lot of people out. He's got a good highlight reel. It's whether he's got the desire to dig in and come back and try and become a world champion again. Who's not to say they might not make Wilder versus Hrgovic and give him a pass in, but it's very hard for a fighter. Only that the fighter knows how much they want it and whether they can be bothered doing it and going through it all again. You've got to remember, Deontay has been at it for years. He did the Olympic cycle, and then all of a sudden you just think, do we really need this anymore? Do we really need your kids seeing me getting knocked out and bashed about on television and stuff like that? And a lot of fighters carry on for monetary gains, but from the understanding of it, Deontay, that isn't the issue with him here. Do you know what I mean? It's down to him whether he wants it or not, and only he can answer them questions.
Were there any other performances on that card that stood out to you, that impressed you?
Yeah, I thought Daniel Dubois, Miller, I thought it was a very good fight. It was a fight that I wanted to see all week. Miller was training well. He was in the gym every day, every night, putting plenty of work in all the time. And so was Daniel Dubois with Don Charles. And I just thought, the two of them, I thought, this has got to be a good fight, this. For a big man, Miller can move. And Daniel Dubois, fair play to him, they put him in to see whether he had that, and he showed that, and he got the stoppage late on, and I was really pleased for Daniel Dubois and Don Charles that they got that win. And I've seen people at the time, anyway, I think Frank mentioned it, about putting him in with Anthony Joshua, maybe that he might want to revisit Joe Joyce. There's lots of things now for Daniel Dubois, and I'm really pleased for him. The other kid on the bill that I thought I knew would win was, who's the heavyweight that stopped him with the body shots? Kabayel. If I said all week, he was a very good fighter. Did expect him to win, was expecting him to win, and he did do. And it was good to see a fighter like that going and hitting body shots and breaking people down. You only see that in the smaller divisions, your Canelos and that weight down, but for a heavyweight to set about breaking him down and finishing him with body shots, it was good to see. And he's an exciting fighter as well, Kovalev. Like I said, the heavyweight division now, it's beginning to bubble, and these kids are coming through, and the Reds get the opportunities. It depends how much longer Tyson, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder all want to hang around for.
Those heavyweights, and like I said, the heavyweight division is very much thriving. There were two heavyweights who were sat aside each other. We thought maybe hell froze over in the form of Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn together, joining forces, boxing super force now. Joe, did you ever think you'd see the day?
No, I seen a video the other day as well that they were on first class on a plane together, weren't they? I think there's Frank, Andy Ayling and Eddie was behind it. But listen, it's all good for the sport of boxing. We said at the beginning of last year, 2023, and I said it myself, listen, boxing really needs to pull its socks up this year. The big fights need to be made, otherwise we're losing things. And it did do, it delivered on all fronts last year. We had the big fights, we got Crawford, we got Spence, we've got heavyweights back fighting each other, and there's good buzz about boxing again where we didn't feel there was at the beginning of last year. I think 2024, obviously the fights that they've made already, like I said, we are getting Fury Usyk, Joshua's in there, there's big fights to be made, and I think 2024 has got to be one of the best years of boxing that we've had for a very long time, which I'm excited about and which is good for the sport of boxing. So Frank, Eddie and His Excellency over there putting the fights together is brilliant.
Final thing, Joe, good way to leave and hang your hat on. Who are you hanging your hat on to win the undisputed crown?
I've got to go Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is... I don't know if it's just a blind loyalty because we lived on the same estate, same amateur gym, all that type of stuff, but it's... I just think a good big one beats a good little one. And if Fury's on it, I think boxing IQ, I don't think he gets much credit for it, Tyson Fury, but he's got a great boxing IQ. as has Oleksandr Usyk, who was throwing kettlebells about yesterday. He's a character, but is this the one step too far for Oleksandr Usyk? Remains to be seen. It makes it fascinating, but I'm going to be pushed for it. I'm going to go with Tyson Fury.
Joe, the pleasure is all mine. I knew it would be a great chat speaking to you and coming up today. Thanks so much for speaking to Seconds Out. Looking forward to speaking to you more throughout the year, and all the best to you and your gym. Won't be the first time. Hopefully I'm here. Keep the relationship going. But again, much appreciated, sir.
No problem. Cheers.